Hey guys, it's Remy. Before we get into the video, did you guys know this clip you're about to watch is part of a longer podcast? Yeah, we actually premiere these the first Friday of every month over on our Twitch channel with full video and music breaks and all that. It's a really cool time. Twitch.tv/Unheard Sirens Inc. is where you can find it. Also, you can listen to this full podcast over on Spotify. Both the links to those are in the description box below. And also, if you could do me a favor, if you could like and comment and subscribe to the channel, all those things, tell the robots that you love us and help maybe push us out to more and more people, and that would really, really help us out. Without further ado, on with the video.
We are the Renegades, all of them that we've chosen. We are the Renegades.
Right now, we're going to talk about another seminal artist who dropped a new album recently, and this is more the dark synth direction. This is more the kind of the basically metal dudes who picked up guitars, metal dudes who decided to pick up synths and use their influence there. And we're listening to a lot of, obviously, this next artist is Carpenter Brut with the new album Leather Terror. And obviously Carpenter Brut, one of the many artists, like I said, in the dark synth kind of subgenre, who take influence from John Carpenter. That's part of the name.
Yeah.
Carpenter Brut.
Yeah, and there's a lot of horror themes, and the names are very much. You can tell that they're influenced by
like horror and like synth
genre,
soundtracks and like Terminator
80s
and like
horror movies.
80s, the kind of
Yeah, but also the sound, because I would say like I could hear Skinny Puppy, I can hear Leather Strip, I can hear Front 242. There's a lot of different industrial and like dark goth, hardcore stuff that I can hear influencing Carpenter Brut. And I, have always really enjoyed those genres a lot. I loved a lot of industrial music, and I love goth and dark wave, and my other band Phoenix Noir is much closer to those genres. It's more of a rock project, and I would say a lot of similar influences, although Phoenix Noir's music is not quite as heavy as some of the stuff here with this Carpenter Brut album. But it was just so fun, and they also have a lot of guest vocals. They have every other track they had both instrumental and sung tracks on the album. The opening two tracks are just like phenomenal, like soundtrack music. I could hear the sort of cinematographic mindset, because the songs suddenly like take you in this place, and you could start to imagine a whole sort of storyline or video or something unfolding.
100%. Yeah, this was one of the when I started really getting deeper into synthwave after I first kind of exposed to Kavinsky, and like Gunship is another like big artist in the scene that I was exposed to. After that, I started to get a little deeper into it and discovered dark synth and got into Carpenter Brut, and I heard, of course, everyone who knows Carpenter Brut knows the track Turbo Killer. That's like the if I had to pick like one track that's like and only one, and then you put a gun to my head and said pick the best Carpenter Brut track, go Turbo Killer. It's Turbo Killer. Which was off of the album Trilogy, which it's called Trilogy because it's actually a compilation of 3 EPs he dropped in like the late 2010s, like around 2017, I want to say. But yeah, and Carpenter Brut's really good at that, like not only that metal influence, but that driving bass, that kind of like that really like sounds like a buzz saw. He's really good at like doing that kind of stuff. And so I listened to Trilogy and got really into that, and like I got really into Carpenter Brut, and was like, I think this is one of the best ones doing it as far as the darker synth direction.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
I love it because there's like so much stuff that I listened to through the 90s and the 2000s that was like a lot darker, a lot heavier. Sometimes it's feeling more metal, sometimes it's feeling more industrial, and it's got a great synth thing going on. So I felt like it's a really, really nice merger in the dark synth arena, and then the kind of horror themes that they have are to be expected within the genre. It's not how I personally approach it, but I can totally get into it, and it's like really fun. It had so much energy and passion, and I think they did a great job choosing guest vocalists, and they have some different styles to the guest vocals, and there's a bunch of great tracks on this album. I really like it.
Yeah, for sure. And for my background, the reason I edge towards, because again, I started in punk and I started in rock. Our sound now is very kind of poppy and kind of synth poppy, but I've never lost that kind of that punk mindset. Yeah. Even like with the tracks like that we come from, like Alien Life and We Are the Renegades. That is it. Even though they're very poppy kind of, and tracks that I think you would call synth pop, even though you could say it's that, it's still very much, I think, the punk ethos and the punk mindset. I think that still shines through. And so, like, hearing, like, I still, and as much as I don't so much listen to, like, what's going on in, like, rock and punk right now, because I've kind of heard all of that stuff, honestly. So, like, it has to be something, like, really special. It's got to have something really, like, it's got to really catch my ear in some way in order to
and when we say that, to qualify, we've both been radio DJs for years.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I had a radio show for 6 years, and it was specializing listening to goth, industrial, underground, hardcore, and electronica, which was more like techno, and all that was like giving way to like jungle and house and deep house and dark house and whatever. Like always a million subgenres. So my radio show way back in the day on WQFS in North Carolina, 90.9 Guilford College radio station.
Yeah. And I've worked at a couple of radio stations here in town. In fact, I was very recently working at a rock radio station here in town, so I was familiar with a lot of rock. So
Rock Hits 92.3.
Yes.
We were helping to get that station off the ground, and you just DJ'd for them for about 6 years.
Yeah. So.
And he DJ'd before that for another radio station. So he's DJ'd even longer than me. But when we say we've heard a lot of music in these genres, we have. We don't just mean like, haters gonna hate.
The unfortunate thing, and the reason, and this is going to feel kind of ironic because of the genre we're in now, but rock has kind of become a nostalgia genre. It's kind of just like it's the snake eating its own tail kind of over and over again, kind of doing the same stuff, and that's kind of why I kind of got out of, I guess, traditional rock. But like stuff like this dark synth and that part of the synthwave, it scratches that same itch for me of like when I want something when I want something that, because I got a dark side, man. I got a side of me that like if the world goes to shit, I'll burn it all down. Like, and this is what's going to be playing in the background. You know what I mean? This Carpenter Brut album. So yeah, for sure. So it scratches that itch for me. And you were talking about the guest vocalists.
Yeah,
we'll talk about some of them here. The Widowmaker, that track features Alex Westaway, I believe is his name. That he's the lead singer of Gunship. And
thought it sounded a little familiar.
And the other one, I think the track after that, Imaginary Fire, that is a vocalist I'm very familiar with. That's Greg Puciato. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. He's the former lead singer of Dillinger Escape Plan, which was one of my favorite bands when I was really into like really hardcore, like metal. Like Dillinger Escape Plan is like that heaviest fucking thing on the planet. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I liked Imaginary Fires, and the music video for that is phenomenal. Mm-hmm. It's really, really epic. Yeah. So if you haven't checked it out, or if we're not like playing that right now, like that music video for Imaginary Fires,
yes, go check that out. Yeah, for sure.
Exquisite. The guest vocals are awesome, and the visual sort of like landscape of what's happening in that video, it's beautiful. It's very epic, and I really, really liked it a lot. It's a great track.
Yeah, and I also enjoyed the approach to the music video for the Widowmaker, which it's funny because both Kavinsky and Carpenter Brut have sort of created these avatar characters. With Kavinsky, the whole backstory behind his character is that he like got in a car crash in 1986 and was resurrected as a zombie who like drives around. Like that's the whole like storyline behind this thing. And with Carpenter Brut, he created this character called Leatherteeth, who's got like the hat and the long blonde hair. And in the video for the Widowmaker, that character is played by by Cole Sprouse, who's the or is it Dylan? I think there are two twins, Cole and Dylan Sprouse. One of them is the kid who plays Jughead on Riverdale, and the other one, not the Riverdale kid, the other twin, plays the Leatherteeth character in the Widowmaker video.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So.
Well, you know, if any of you are out there and you're like, man, I really want to help an awesome band develop their avatar and come up with like really cool animated things like a graphic novel or a really innovative music video, we also create some avatars.
Exactly. Yes, we
would really be happy to
especially a graphic
animate
novel.
them,
Especially a graphic novel. We were working with a really talented artist. We were trying to get a graphic novel thing. Unfortunately, there was a little too much on his plate and hasn't come together. So if you're a graphic novelist and you want to like work with us to help visualize some of our stuff, please get in contact.
Yeah, because it works so well. I mean, you know, we've had some videos of ours set to Cowboy Bebop and like the Star Wars animated series. What's the artist's name that's done that for us?
Savada.
Savada.
His Savada Studio is the name of his like Instagram
Yeah, so I think
handle
set maybe
company.
2 of our songs to Cowboy Bebop animation, the original animation series.
And
the more recent one
he
was...
did Alien Life to Invader Zim on my request. I was like...
oh, I haven't seen the Invader Zim!
You didn't watch that one. Yeah,
oh my god,
one.
oh my god. So that's like so fun. So it's really cool to see like innovative animation and avatar, you know, type stuff happening. And I would totally love for us to be getting into that. And we have an entire like mythology and backstory behind why I'm the Empress Owl and he's Remy the Renegade, also known as the Rock Star. And it's like, it'd be so fun. We really look forward to like animating ourselves and like going into the multiverse as little avatar versions. Because there's some stories we've been spinning in the background that inspire the concepts of our albums and the tracks and the music that we're doing. And we write about it in, you know, especially like the social media posts when we're kind of talking about releases of songs. So I love seeing this in the other people in the genre, how, you know, in the multi-genre, because it's not, I mean, like Carpenter Brut is such different music than Kavinsky, and they're both really wonderful, and I happen to really like both. But, you know, I had this sort of side of me that listened to a lot of dance music and like trip hop and then techno and house and jungle and like a million things, and now I don't know, uns and synth and whatever. There's like a million names for this. But then I also had the more hardcore side that started with like 9 Inch Nails but got into like KMFDM and Ministry and you know, and Skinny Puppy and stuff like that, and got a lot more. That was my gur, you know, so I had a lot of gur too. My gur was much more like industrial gur, not as much punk rock gur. A little bit, but not as much as him.
By the way, that was the other album I was about to include in this episode, but it became a little bit too heavy. I had to like kind of limit the scope. I wanted to include Perturbator's latest album, Lustful Sacraments, which also digs into that old school 80s industrial vibe. You definitely have to check that album
Maybe
out.
in a future episode.
We'll review
that. Perturbator, we like
because
that.
that one is a straight banger too, and completely redefines the genre. But anyway, let's continue talking about.
I miss like good new 9 Inch Nails music, and I feel like, you know, if you miss really good new 9 Inch Nails releases, like come listen to this Carpenter Brut album, because it might actually do something for you that you're not expecting. I really feel like it's very creative, it's very dynamic, and it has a lot of passion. Like the music has a lot of passion,
and there's a good amount of like left turns too. Like the first few tracks on there very much edge themselves towards like metal and metal industrial kind of thing. But then there's like a few left turns. Like there was the one with like, I forget the name of it right now, but the one with like the female vocalist, which is more that kind of like
Willow,
80s disco-y.
That was the one with Youngblood.
That was Youngblood. It was something else.
I'm trying to remember all the guest artists on all the things.
I can't remember, but at the top of my head, it's like Ulcer or something like that. I want to say
that's why I'm getting it.
Something like that. Anyway, it is another one-word name, but yeah, that one was more the edgy towards. But that's one of the reasons. That's one of the things. That's why you should definitely check out Carpenter Brut's album Trilogy at some point, because not only does it keep some of the heavy industrial influences, but then it'll go to stuff that sounds more dancey clubby, but it sounds like dancey clubby on steroids. It's like still that side of the synth.
I can hear all of this in like the goth dance halls, you know, the goth dance floors of America, like any of like this. There are a lot of different tracks, and some would be a lot more the aggro side, and then other ones are more, you know, just like really enjoying like really nice dark club music. Enjoyed all of this album actually.
So,
but it is nice to have new music coming out that's sort of like
It is.
does that, and
It
like people
is.
that are still creating, and it doesn't feel so retrospective that it's just recreating.
Exactly.
It doesn't feel
exactly.
like it's
exactly.
just nostalgia and
Exactly.
just recreating
That is.
It feels like this multi-genre sort of mashup, like all these influences have come together, but they found their identity.
Exactly. That is
their
my
sound
big
is
thing.
really, really clear.
That is my big thing with the synthwave genre, and anyone who wants to like criticize it for being it's just retro, it's just 80s, blah blah, it's just looking backward. I don't think so. I think that is bullshit. I agree with our good friends Kate and Max from Outworld Sounds who say that synthwave is the new punk. It didn't occur to me until I thought about that. I'm like, you're right, because there's so many musicians who exist now who just picked up synthesizers and DAWs and music programs and are just making something.
Yep.
And it has that kind of 80s
listening to each other
thing.
and learning from each other, and everybody's kind of making
Exactly.
music together and just kind of like evolving, and it's messy, and it's a lot of a combination of people that had training and background in music and people that are completely self-taught, which is like even us, like we're like that. Like I had different training and background, but this is like a genre where we can create new work that matters. And you're much more self-taught, and
exactly,
admirably so, and that's much more the like punk route. Like I'm just gonna get it and I'm gonna learn it. I'm just gonna keep hammering it out. I'm gonna create work, and I'm gonna listen to other work, and that's gonna help me think about how to create. And I felt like with Carpenter Brut, I mean, they're much more the like polished professional. Like they obviously know exactly what they're doing, but it isn't just recycling. It feels like they are creating something new. You know.
Yeah, I was looking up. I did a little bit of research just before we went on to record, and Carpenter Brut is actually one guy behind it, Franck Hueso. I don't know. He's a French guy. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I'm probably not. That's okay. He said something like the whole idea of electronic music appealed to him because you could do it without a band.
Yeah.
And that's one of the advantages of what we're doing is like we're a duo, and we play some instruments here and there, but
I've mostly been in 5-piece bands, rock.
Exactly.
We're like carrying the bass amp. Bass amp is bigger than our bass player in Phoenix Noir.
Exactly.
And I have transported that bass amp for many years.
But with this, you don't have to find a bass player. You don't have to find a drummer. Which, my God,
you can unload the car in just like a few minutes, and then we plug in some stuff, and we got our synth. And we got our mics, and then we can make music. It's amazing.
It is.
It is literally liberating after all the years of transporting.
So liberating. Yeah,
my keyboard in the hard case weighs like 95 pounds, and it's like the keyboard, and then the bass amps, and then the mixers, and oh my God, it's just heavy. It's heavy. It's physically heavy, and it's so much gear and equipment. And it's nice that now the synths have gotten to the point that things captured in the home studio and created from these programs still, especially with good production. Like we work with JJ Williams, and he's really helped us to find the best possible sounds of all of these synths, and having some variety of different synths we're pulling from, not one sort of limited package or instrument. Being able to combine them is great, but it is accessible. People can download this stuff. They can acquire a little bit of gear and instrumentation and software and start to make music that sounds really good. And that's super empowering, because it is really hard when you gotta have all the instruments and all the gear and all the equipment and all of that sort of stuff. It's nice that we can all be sort of liberated to go forward and create this easy way.
But as we were going back to what we were saying earlier about the synthwave genre, that's the stuff in the genre that appeals to me the most, is the stuff that takes those retro aspects, those retro sounds, but it does something new with them. As it was what you're saying, it's not just trying to recreate 80s pop. Nothing against that. I like that stuff too. But the stuff that really gets me excited, because it makes me think we're getting to a very interesting place in kind of the future of music. But again, as our good friend Sebastian from SNS says, it's we're kind of in a postmodern kind of idea of kind of period of music where all of it's up for grabs. You can take something a 90s influence, you can take an 80s influence, you can put it all together, or you can there isn't, what does it even mean to be current anymore? What even is the current sound or the current vibe when everything is so fractured?
Yeah. What's the new currency?
What's the new currency, exactly?
Yeah. Wonder what the new currency is. We are going to have more to say about that in our next album.
Yep. Indeed.
We're starting to work on our next album, so these are planting seeds, and there's themes we've been playing around. for a few couple years now, thinking about this, because it is about this moment in time. There's so much history. We're so much more well connected. We're aware of history all over the planet, and can kind of pick and choose. And there's trends and things that go viral, and then there's more like deep pockets of stuff that you can find, and we can be influenced by so many things. So now it is up to us to kind of filter it and to synthesize it with what really matters to us, and then just create something new. And bits of all the things that are influencing you are gonna pop out, but it's not like I need to be like that person. I'm gonna create another version of that exact thing.
Right.
It's like just filtering and synthesizing. There's just so much right now in this, it's just a weird, it's a weird time. We're so self-aware.
It is. Yeah.
Like selfie land, so self-aware and so image driven and trying to get likes and comments and,
Sure, yeah.
and there's just all this activity, and no matter what, you have to try to find yourself in the center of that. Mm-hmm. And you have to stay
100%.
grounded and not get lost in these different trends, or just try and do something for a certain kind of response, like trying to control or manipulate to get favor from other people, to get likes.
No, the people
like that, you lose yourself.
Sure, yeah. The people who do that usually don't get that much success anyway. It is usually the people who are being as true to themselves as possible that end up catching on with that algorithm that most people are so desperately trying to catch on with anyway.
Yeah.
It's mainly.
We certainly hope so. I mean, our approach is going to be like real and authentic, and like think about what really matters right now and what we can do with it and what music can express that.
Yes.
Like music's the vehicle. And we want to create music for its own sake, but it's like also there's so much to say right now, and so let's put it together.
Yes,
Create
exactly.
music that we really enjoy, but with a message that is driving us and that we really care about.
Yeah.
And so ours is not as referential to like horror movies or something. Like ours is much more sort of like trying to reconcile with like this moment in human history than anything else. But I really respect and admire all the artists that are just trying to find their footing and their identity, and they're creating work. So lots of props to all the people that are like finding whatever that is. Even if I don't love the art itself, I respect them and I respect the art. There's things that are not my taste, but you can still respect what someone's trying to create.
Exactly.